He had watched the clip 47 times before he understood what she was doing with her hands. The first 46 times, he saw what he had seen on the night itself. A quiet woman in the backseat, looking out the window. Tired, maybe a little distracted, nothing that said anything to him. But on the 47th viewing, in the dim light of his apartment at 2 in the morning, 3 weeks after the ride, he finally saw it. And when he did, he had to put his phone down and breathe. Ray Delgado had been driving for a rideshare platform for 4 years. He drove nights, mostly, 6 in the evening to 2 in the morning, 4 nights a week. He drove because it fit around his other job at a supply warehouse, because the car was paid off, and because he liked the quiet of it. Driving at night in a city feels different from driving during the day. The traffic thins, the passengers are more interesting. Some of them are drunk, some are exhausted, some have just come from something they don't want to talk about. Ray had learned to read the difference and to leave people alone accordingly. He had a dashcam. He had installed it after a passenger tried to dispute off fare, not for safety, not for any particular premonition. Just to have a record if he needed one. It recorded a wide-angle view of the backseat and a forward view of the road. The files saved automatically and overwrote themselves after 30 days. The woman got in at 11:22 p.m. on a Thursday in early April. Ray didn't note anything unusual when he accepted the ride. The pickup was a block from a bar district downtown. Women leaving late at night alone was common. She sat behind him on the passenger side, not the middle. She gave no greeting. She looked out the window. The ride was 9 minutes. When she got out, she didn't say thank you and didn't look back. He moved on to the next fare. He would have forgotten her entirely. 3 weeks later, her face was on the news. Her name was Andrea Voss. She was 29. She had been reported missing by her coworkers after she failed to show up for 2 days in a row and stopped responding to messages. Her family, reached by a reporter for a brief statement, said only that they were cooperating with authorities. There was a photo, a professional headshot, the kind from a work profile page, her hair pulled back, a polite smile. Ray saw it on his phone while waiting in a pickup queue at an airport and felt something close in his chest. He recognized her immediately. He did not call the police that night. He told himself he wasn't certain. The photo was small, the headshot was formal and flattering. He had only seen her once for 9 minutes in the dark. He told himself that every person who thought they recognized someone from a news story was probably wrong, and that calling in a tip that led nowhere wasted time. He told himself he was being responsible. He went home and pulled up the dashcam app on his laptop. The footage was still there, 24 days old, within the 30-day window. He found the timestamp, 11:22 p.m., April 6th. He watched the full 9 minutes of the backseat recording. She sat still, looking out the window. Once, she glanced toward the rearview mirror, toward the camera, and then looked away. Nothing else happened. At the end of the ride, she opened the door and left. The footage was exactly what he remembered. He went to bed. He didn't sleep. By noon the next day he had watched it 11 more times. He wasn't sure what he was looking for. He kept pausing on the moment she looked at the camera. It lasted 2 seconds. Her expression was neutral, but something about the deliberateness of it stayed with him. She had looked at the camera, not at him. She had found it in the dark, in a moving vehicle, without turning her head far. That took effort. He went back further. He started watching her hands. They were resting in her lap for most of the ride. He had to zoom in, and the image degraded, but it was still legible. Her fingers were moving, not nervously, not tapping or picking the way people do when they're anxious. They were moving in a pattern, a small, deliberate sequence. She repeated it twice, then stopped. Ray was not fluent in American Sign Language. He had taken half a semester of it in college and retained almost none of it. But he knew the alphabet. And he stared at those letters on the paused screen until something surfaced from a long time ago. HELP. He sat there for a long time without moving. He had been in the car with her. She had looked directly at the camera and signed the word help. Slowly enough to be read. Deliberately enough to be intentional. And he had driven her 9 minutes across the city and wished her a good night without ever knowing. The address she had given him was on a residential street in a quiet neighborhood. He had dropped her at a house with the lights on. He had watched her go up the front walk and had pulled away when the door opened. He had not seen who opened it. He had not noticed if she hesitated. He had been looking at the road. He called the police non-emergency line that evening. He explained who he was, that he had recognized a missing woman as a recent passenger, and that he had footage he thought they needed to see. The person who answered took his information and told him a detective would follow up. The detective called the next morning. Ray described what he had seen, what he thought he had seen in the footage. He said the word, sign language. He braced for skepticism. There was a pause. The detective asked him to send the footage immediately and said she would call him back within the hour. She called back in 35 minutes. She said the footage was being reviewed by someone with ASL expertise. She said the address he had provided was already being looked at. She said they would be in contact. She did not tell him anything else. For the next 4 days, Ray drove his shifts, went home, and waited. He looked at the news. There was a brief update on the second day. The investigation was active, no further information. He tried not to construct a timeline in his head. He tried not to count days. He had been driving for 4 years and had never once considered that someone in his backseat might be in danger. He had always thought of himself as a careful person. Now he thought about the 9 minutes. He thought about all the nights he had watched the road and not the mirror. On the 5th day, the detective called again. She told him that the footage had been reviewed and that the ASL expert had confirmed the hand movements matched the letters HELP, signed slowly and deliberately at camera level. She told him the address he had provided had yielded information that, combined with Andrea Voss's cell phone data from the nights in question, had allowed them to narrow the search significantly. She told him that Andrea Voss had been found alive. She had been held in a house 40 minutes outside the city. The person who had taken her was a man she had known, a former partner, someone she had left 8 months before. The house where Ray had dropped her was a transit point, a location where she had been moved briefly before being taken further. She had been inside for less than an hour. The detective told Ray that his call had mattered, that the footage had confirmed she was alive on the night of the 6th, had placed her at a location in the chain, and had been one of several pieces of evidence that converged. She thanked him for reporting it. Ray asked how Andrea was. The detective said she was with her family, that she was okay. That was all she said. He asked if he would hear from her, from Andrea. The detective said she didn't know. She said sometimes survivors wanted contact with people who had helped, and sometimes they didn't, and that was entirely up to her. She said he should prepare for the possibility that he wouldn't. He said he understood. He sat in his car for a while after he hung up. He was parked in a lot near the warehouse, waiting for his shift to start. A plane was crossing overhead. The afternoon was cool and bright. He thought about the 9 minutes, about how close he had been to never having the footage at all. 30 days, and it overwrites. He had called with 6 days to spare. He never heard from Andrea Voss directly. 3 weeks after her rescue, a news station ran a brief segment, 2 minutes, near the end of a broadcast. She appeared for a moment on camera, standing outside what looked like her parents' house, and said she was recovering and grateful. She did not mention Ray by name. The piece referred to a witness who came forward with dashcam footage. He watched it once and didn't watch it again. His mother, when he told her the story, asked him how he felt. He thought about it for a while before answering. He said he felt like he had done the smallest possible version of the right thing, very late, and that it had mattered anyway. He wasn't sure if that was supposed to feel good. It felt like something else. Like a narrow escape he hadn't known he was making. He still drove nights. He still had the dashcam, the same one. After everything, he looked at his passengers differently. Not with suspicion, not with a detective's eye, but with more attention. He noticed when someone was quiet in a way that felt deliberate. He noticed hands. He drove a woman home from a hospital one night in October, and she slept the whole way. And when they arrived she woke up and thanked him, and he watched her go inside. He checked the footage when he got home. She was just sleeping. He kept checking. He had learned, in the clearest possible terms, that attention is not the same as seeing. That being present in a room, or a car, or a life, does not mean you are looking at what is actually there. He wasn't sure that lesson had a clean ending, but it was the one he was left with.